Hopped on. All right, so here we go. We're in recording mode. Good morning, good morning. It is 7:39 here, so I rolled out of bed, at 6:45. Can you believe it? It's crazy. And I got Tessie here with me. So exciting. So we are on week 3. Isn't this the 3rd week of the 21 indispensable qualities of a leader? And today we're going to talk about chapters, I believe we were chapters 7 through 9 today. Does that sound right, Tessie? Yes. 7 through 9. And I think I counted. We only have 4 more times if we continue to do 3 chapters. So it's only 4 more times, and we'll complete the whole entire book. So that's pretty cool. But before we start talking about that, I'm going to read a little devotion, and it's called God Hears What Your Heart Has to Say. And it's from Psalm 139, verse 4, and it says, "Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely." I had a great aunt and great uncle who were married for almost 70 years. Through decades of sharing life, they developed a language all their own. They could finish each other's sentences and speak volumes with just a look, and they used phrases with meanings only known to the two of them. Intimacy and familiarity helped them know each other and far beyond just what sounds and syllables could communicate. When you know someone's heart, you don't need much of an explanation. God also knows what we're going to say even before we do, because he knows our hearts. The mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Matthew 12, verse 34. Even before you pause to pray, God already knows what you're going to say. He can finish your sentences because he's heard them being formed deep within you. That means prayer is not about information, it's about intimacy. It builds our relationship with God when we speak to him and listen for his response. Yet because God knows us so completely, we also don't have to feel pressure to have just the right words. We've all heard fancy prayers that make us wonder if we should ever dare to speak to Jesus again. But what matters to him is not our language, but the meaning behind it. "Help me, Jesus" is one of the most powerful, pleasing prayers you can ever say. So when you're struggling, it's okay if you're not sure how to express what you're feeling to God. You can simply tell him, "You know my heart, you know what I need, I love and trust you, please do what is best." We can also rest in knowing that Jesus and the Holy Spirit add to our prayers. Christ Jesus, who died, more than that, who was raised to life, is at the right hand of God and who is also interceding for us. Romans 8, verse 34. In the same way, the Spirit helps us in our weakness. We do not know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit himself intercedes for us through wordless groans. And he who searches our hearts knows the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for God's people in accordance with the will of God. Romans 8, verses 26 to 27. Because of that, we don't have to feel pressure to have enough words or even the right ones. Jesus and the Spirit intercede on our behalf according to God's will. So whatever we ask for, they can translate it into what we truly need. God knows we don't have the same perspective he does. He understands we don't have the wisdom of eternity. He remembers that we are finite, limited beings. So you don't have to fear getting in trouble for asking the wrong thing when you pray. Just be honest, surrender your will, and then ask Jesus and the Spirit to intercede for you. A loving marriage that lasts for a lifetime is a haven for our hearts. Prayer is meant to be one too. God's presence is a place you can always come to and trust you'll be accepted, cherished, and fully known in a way that's beyond words. So what my heart is saying to you is, Lord, it's a beautiful gift to be able to connect with you through prayer. You know my heart and all that I long to say, including ... So pray that prayer today. Amen. Whatever that private prayer might be. I thought that was really good. A good reminder that sometimes we don't think that we have the right prayer. We're not saying the right thing. And yet the Holy Spirit is within each of us. And he intercedes. The Holy Spirit intercedes for us to form what it is we're trying to get out, to ask the Lord whatever struggle that might be, or if it's focused, Lord, help me to focus better so that I can get where I'm trying to go, those kinds of things. It's just very comforting to know that. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that, or should we dive right into the book?
I just like the part where it can be so simple as just saying, "Help me, Jesus," And especially if you don't even know the words, but you know that you need his help. Like, I think that that's pretty cool. And that's something that you can like saying, like, he knows what you need anyways. You just have to ask for it. I like that.
He does want us to come to him. That is for sure. He wants us to always be coming to him in every aspect of our lives. I think oftentimes when you're in the most frustrating times of your life, it's because you're worrying and you're not asking him. Like you're just not coming to him and saying, Lord, help me. I need help. I don't know what I need, but you know what I need. So please help me get through this moment. And, so that's just awesome. Cool. All right. So let's dive right into chapter 7. Well, actually 4 through 6. How did you do, Tessie, on working through 4 through 6, which were communication? So really communicating very well. Keeping it simple was the communication part. Like just be so simple and be straightforward when you're communicating. The competence thing. So if you build it, they will come. How competent are you? And then the chapter 6 was courage. One person with courage is a majority. Just talking about that one person who says, I'm going to do this, I'm going to have courage to do this, will pave the way for so many other people. So how did you do on those?
I even found out that when I was making text messages, sometimes I try to explain everything in a simple text message, and then I'll go back and I just kind of delete. Like, was trying to practice that a little bit better. Like I don't have to explain it all that much in just a simple text message. And then it is easier. It's a little bit more clear without all that extra stuff in the way.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Get right to the point. Ask right the exact answer, exactly what they're asking, and state what exactly you're looking for. You know what I mean? Don't beat around the bush. Just go right for that ask. So I like that too. I think that's a very good thing. I did many times where I threw up on people, and when I go back to messages, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. I didn't even answer what they asked. I was like, what were they thinking? Right. I was too excited, and I wanted to know everything, and they didn't care to know anything of that. So it's kind of interesting. But there's not any reason why you still can't go back and do it, do it a better way. You know what I mean?
Right. I really like the part when it was talking about when you're in front of an audience and you're trying to communicate, when it's talking about giving people something to feel and something to remember and something to do. I really like that part because I've thought about when I've been to different people talking and listening to them, like when you feel an emotion inside you, you remember that better than a lot of other talks. And so that was pretty awesome because sometimes when you're listening to an awesome leader talk, really realize what qualities that they're giving to you, of how to do that. You're just like, wow, you're so awesome,
Mm-hmm.
But like thinking about that, I was like, oh yeah, that is definitely, you want them to remember what you're saying. And so when you have them feel something, their emotions are a lot stronger. And that is usually something that helps in businesses where you have to have help. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I, by far, am more drawn to people who share their story.
Yeah.
When I hear anything, even if they start talking about the products, I don't even care so much about that. I care about what brought them to it, why they came here, what the products have done for them, how it's changed their life. I want to hear people's where they were and where they came from and where they are now. You know what I mean? That's what always, that's what happened with me when I went to conference, that first conference, sitting in that room, listening to people's stories on the stage. And it was all these couples. That's what really went, oh my gosh, like they were on WIC. Oh, we're on WIC. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, there's so many like connecting emotional parts where I was like, they're a husband and wife. I'm a husband and wife. They have kids. I have kids. They were on WIC. I'm on WIC. They're now on stage. I can do that too. So it is absolutely that connection. That's why they say, they talk about you just can't tell your story enough. Even on Facebook, when you're sharing a post, put an emotional story behind that, behind what product has changed your life and how it has totally changed your life, or how this business has been enabled you to spend more time doing this, or being able to have a little extra cash to do that. Those very emotional things that people are like, oh, that would just be so amazing to be able to do that myself, you know, because I can't right now. Or that, geesh, I really struggle there, and look at that. That really helped her. I wonder if it could help me. So absolutely. It's a great point. Okay, so let's talk about chapter 7, if you don't mind. We're going to just jump right into discernment. Smart leaders believe only half of what they hear. Discerning leaders know which half to believe. The first rule of holes: when you're in one, stop digging. So then they talked about this chica, Mary Sklodowska, talking about her in Poland and how she was so very good at discernment. And she said, like at the end of page 46, nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Her intelligence and discernment allowed her to understand and discover many things that have made a positive impact on our world. Unfortunately, keen discernment did not extend to her health, because listen to this, she wasn't discerning here. Because she was on the cutting edge of research for radioactive materials, she did not protect herself from the effects of radiation. Her work slowly killed her. Rather suddenly, her health declined, and in 1934, she died of leukemia at age 66. But when you look at what she all was able to do, you know, during World War I, she was, you know, noticing what was happening on the battlefields, and that technology she discovered could help save lives. So she developed the X-ray equipment, which is really, really awesome.
Yeah.
And then what I really commented or underlined was the top of 47. It says discernment can be described as the ability to find the root of the matter, and it relies on intuition as well as rational thought. Effective leaders need discernment, although even good leaders don't display it all the time. For example, read these comments made by leaders, which I like to think is a famous last words. So these are leaders that were not using discernment. I liked where it said, Jimmy Hoffa said, "I don't need bodyguards," 1 month before his disappearance. I'm like, whoa. How many times do we say, I don't need that, I don't need that, I don't need that? And it's like, oh, better be careful what you say you don't need.
Yeah. I like the part on the top of 46 when she was quoted saying, life is not easy for any of us. And then confidence in ourselves. We must believe that we are gifted for something and that this thing must be attained. I just really like that part, because I believe that everybody has certain gifts, and sometimes people don't tap into those or don't work on those. And so sometimes they go their life without even sharing those gifts. And so I believe that God gave us all gifts, and that they're meant to be shared, and they're meant to be for bigger things.
I agree 100%. I agree. And you know what? I think as leaders, we have to be ones to pull that out in people. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I need to do a better job of that. Always, you know, looking for ways to pull out when I see some really amazing gifts that everybody has. And, and as leaders, as we're reading about leadership, that's really our job, to see that in our people around us, anyone around us, our children, you know, our anybody around us that we see, man, you really have a gift in that, to really speak life to that gift, because our speaking just those words can change. I mean, you hear people all the time that say, well, because of a coach, I became this. Because of a teacher that said that, I became that. Because my mom spoke life in me about this, I knew I had the ability to be able to go do that. So I think, you know, that is an awesome point. And I think that's discernment. That's part of discernment for us as leaders, to look for that, look for it in ourselves, and develop that. So that is awesome. And you're right. They always say the most dreams are found in the graveyard. And you know why that is? Because most people die never having developed, like you said, the talents and gifts God had given them. They gave up on it. They didn't have somebody to speak life into them. They didn't have a good mentor in their life to really just pull that out in them, whatever it might be. So that is always a sad thing, that the graveyard, you know, died with a lot of people because they just gave up on everything. That was very good. Okay, I love when it goes through and it gives you like Discernment, so bottom of 47. It goes through number 1, discovering the root issues. You have to, leaders of large organizations, they have to cope with tremendous chaos and complexity each day. They're never able to gather enough information to complete a picture of just about anything. As a result, they have to rely on discernment. Discernment enables a leader to see a partial picture, filling in the missing pieces intuitively and find the real heart of a matter. Number 2, enhance your problem solving. If you can see the root issue of a problem, you can solve it. The closer a leader is to his area of gifting, here you go, Tessie, the stronger his intuition and ability to see root causes. If you want to tap into your discernible potential, work in your areas of strength. So number 3, evaluate your options for maximum impact. Never ignore a gut feeling, but never believe that it's enough. Discernment isn't relying on intuition alone, nor is it relying on only intellect. Discernment enables you to use both your gut and your head to find the best option for your people and your organization. And then number 4, multiply your opportunities. People who lack discernment are seldom in the right place at the right time. Although great leaders often appear to be lucky to some observers, I believe leaders create their own luck as a result of discernment, that willingness to use their experience and follow their instincts. And I don't believe in luck at all. I believe that God has a hand in everything. So, I think people who look for godly wisdom, ask for godly wisdom, pray for godly wisdom, give me discernment is just being wise. You know what I mean? Like, I think that if you really are asking for that all the time, God will give you that. Like Solomon in the Bible, that's what he prayed for. Lord, give me wisdom. God gave him so much wisdom. People came to him and brought gifts because they just wanted to sit at his feet and hear him speak and hear him share his wisdom. So I think we can, as leaders, ask to be discerning leaders. We can ask for wisdom to know when we see something isn't quite right, or we see something as we're leading wherever it is. Help us to be able to see it and then be able to make a wise plan of attack for it to improve the situation. Help come with a solution or whatever. So it says, are you a discerning leader on top of 49? When faced with complex issues, can you readily identify the heart of the matter? Are you able to see root causes of difficult problems without having to get every bit of information? Do you trust your intuition and rely on it as much as you do your intellect and experience? If not, you need to cultivate it. Okay, and then I love how it always brings it home. You have anything with that or anything? I don't want to be the only one talking if you've got some stuff.
Okay. I just like when it's, talking about when it does the bringing it home, analyze your past successes. And if you can capture the heart of the matter in a few words, you can probably learn to do it with future issues. And so, when you're just thinking about the past, like sometimes those are lessons that and learn how others think. I really know that this one's true when you pick some other people whose profession is or gifting is similar to yours and read their biographies. I've heard the phrase from Mary Kay, hitch your wagon to a star. And so she had always looked at other people who were better than her. And so I read her biography before, and just learning about other leaders, how they did it, and always asking them questions, or if they're not able to ask, looking at what they've done and like just learning from that, because obviously they've succeeded. So you want to be in their shoes kind of a thing. So that one's kind of an obvious one to me, but also the listen to your gut. I know that there's been times in my life where I've had this feeling, and more times when I've listened to it, that's where I haven't listened to it and I was like, oh, I should have really paid attention. But I like it when it talks about those different gut feelings, because the more that you do listen to it, the more that you hear it, and then the more that you hear it, the more that you can continue to act on it. And then you're just kind of being a little bit more like, I don't know how to explain it, but, like connected with your soul, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's really good. No, I totally understand.
Listen to the gut, and you're like, wow, I am so glad that I listened at that time. Or sometimes it's not even an awakening moment. Sometimes, you pray about things and then the answers come to you in dreams. Like that's also, you know, part of listening to your gut and your intuition part. So I like that part too.
That's so good, Tessie. I love that. Now, the daily takeaway for chapter 7 was the Swiss. It said, you know, it kind of wraps it up and says discernment. The best watches. Remember, the Swiss the Swiss watches had a lock on watchmaking, so they were like the thing at that time. They built the best watches money could buy, and by the 1940s, they produced 80% of all watches worldwide. In the late 1960s, when an investor presented an idea for a new type of watch to the leaders of a Swiss watch company, they all rejected it, believing his design had merit. So this guy had discernment in here. He goes, you know what? I think I'm onto something. I think I'm onto something. I really feel that I am. The man took it to the company in Japan. The name of the organization is Psycho. However you say it. Is that how you say it?
I don't think that is probably Psycho, but
I've seen the brand.
I've never heard of that brand before.
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen it in watches. The design of the watch was digital, and today 80% of all watches use a digital design. One discernment-driven occasion or decision can change the entire course of your destiny. So discern, right?
Yeah.
Something to think about and pray for wisdom. Pray for it. And focus. Or chapter 8 is focus. So the Tessie, this is where it really grabbed you. So this is a good one.
For sure.
The sharper it is, the sharper you are. So think of a knife, you know? You're sharpening yourself, sharpening your axe so that you can really get to where what you're trying to do. You'll get there. You know, you'll get there if you stay focused. What people say, what people do, what they say, they do are entirely different things. So what people say, what people do, and what they say, they do are entirely different things. And it's true. We all can talk a good game, but are we acting on what we're talking about? That's always the true question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what do you have? Do you have anything that's pointed out for 52 or 53?
I don't really do too much in the stories. I really like do too much of takeaway from that. I just like the idea of like listening to the story where he was constantly, you know, focused on working at making his batting game better. But what that I wrote at the end, the highlighted part was a cultivated kind of concentration unknown to most people was what he had. And then like you have to have that type of a concentration in whatever field that you're in. So I like that one. But I kind of get into a little bit more of like 54 and 55. I've got highlights everywhere. So I can talk a little bit more about that if you wanted to mention anything about 52 or 53.
I was going to talk about, I have it fleshing out on the bottom of 53. Mm-hmm. What does it take to have the focus required to be a truly effective leader? The keys are priorities and concentration. So I definitely circled those. And we hear that all the time, like Cammie Dempsey, you know, she's our, our big Black Diamond leader. We're underneath her. We're part of her bloodline. And she often talks about priorities. She'll often say, well, like your focus forms your future, but she'll often say that, you know, you have to take some what you think are priorities off your plate and really do what it is you really want to accomplish. So, you know, she'll say the next 3 to 5 years, what do you want to be happening in your business? You know, if you want your kids to be in all these sports and doing all these things, but yet you want your business to be triple diamond presidential and you're running around doing all these things and being president every single thing, she'll let you know that you probably won't make where you want to go because your priorities, if you really want to go there, that's where they need to be. So it means clearing out and figuring out a way to not make every single game because you're at a party or you're following up with people or you're training them or whatever that looks like. So that always reminds me, like, I'm like, oh, geez, you know, I guess it's that whole, she said, some people call it sacrifices. I call it investments in my family and my future. So I missed some things along the way, but I know what we're going towards. And I mean, like she remembers wanting to bring her husband home and have the full time and be able to go to the next level and help other people go to those levels. It was going to require some serious reprioritizing. So I just thought that was so good where it says knows his priorities but lacks. Okay, these are priorities and concentration. A leader who knows his priorities but lacks concentration knows what, top of 54, to do but never gets it done. He has concentration, but no priorities. He has excellence without progress. I'm like, oh, geez. But when he harnesses both, he has the potential to achieve great things. So I thought that was like, aha, moment for me.
For sure.
Because I think we're all guilty of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just it's like anything. Like when you're exercising, it takes like total. You got to exercise that muscle of what that looks like to stay concentrated and keep your priorities straight.
Yeah.
Like it's not something that happens naturally. Naturally, we want to be all over the place, all over chaotic. ADD, ADHD. That's, I think, our minds are from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing, and that's where I think the 6 list will really help us, Tessie, and those watching the recording. But yeah, I mean, the keys are priorities. What are your priorities? You know, what do you really want to be happening? What is a very big must? You know what I mean? What is a very big must for you? You know, if you're struggling with income, what is a very big must? If you need extra income, if you need to really get yourself to the next level, then that needs to be a big priority. You know what I mean? That needs to be your number one priority behind your God and your family, of course. If there's things that, you know, your family needs you for, emergency stuff, then you got to be there for them. But then it's your business. If you need to get to that next level because your current struggle or whatever. You have anything else to say on that? That's all I had for that.
No, that was great. I like that little extra bit that you shared about Cami Dempsey because that kind of hits home a lot there too. Yeah. And then when it talks about like how should you focus your time and energy, I know that in my life, I think a lot of times maybe we're taught if you're not good at something, you need to learn how to do that better. And so this part was huge because I've heard it before, but any of the really good leadership books always talk about when you focus on your strengths, like this one says focus 70% on your strengths, then you'll do better. But I think that society tries to teach us if you're liked when it talked about the great mystery isn't that people do things badly, but that they occasionally do a few things well. The only thing that is universal is incompetence. Strength is always specific. And then the part which is pretty obvious, nobody ever commented, for example, that the great violinist, I'm not going to say his name right, Jascha?
Yeah.
Heiditz?
That sounds
probably
good.
couldn't play the trumpet very well. So, you know, nobody ever talks about when people are famous and they're really good at something, nobody ever talks about their bad parts, you know. They always talk about how awesome they are and how amazing and how much talent that they have in this one thing. But when we're learning how to do that, nobody really thinks about focusing on those strengths. I don't think anyways. That part hit home to me. So just like to be successful, you need to focus on your strengths and develop those. And then that's where you need to put your time and your energy and your resources into. So.
Yeah, wasn't that just so good?
Yeah.
Like that part, it's true. You hear so many times, even in school, oh, your math grade is a C-. We really need to work hard at that. And then you hardly focus on all the A's and B's, and you go, oh, we got to really keep developing where we see your talents are. If you consistently get C's, you're not your strength. Math is not your strength. So yeah, you got to work a little bit at it so you're not getting an F on it, but let's really focus on what you're amazing at. Let's really dig down and develop those areas, because if it's in reading, oh my goodness, what if writing is your thing? You know what I mean? Or if it's in art, what if artistry is your thing? You know, if it's in music, oh my goodness, what if music is your thing? We need to develop that. We don't need to develop the math. You know what I mean? You have a calculator for that. You know what I mean?
Like learn the basics, but then focus on what you're really good at. Yeah.
Because you know what, when you, Kim Haber, our presidential upline, always says, when you're working in your strengths, it doesn't feel like work. You're totally enjoying what you're doing because you're working in your wheelhouse. So you're like, oh my gosh, I could do this every day. I could do this all day long because I am working where I love, where my strengths are, where my gifts are. So, and there's a book called Strengths Finder. Have you ever heard of it?
I did something with that probably about 10 years ago.
Yes.
And the company that I was working with at the time, we all took the test. It was like the Strengths Finder 2.0. Yeah, that one. Exactly. And so then we all took the test on that, and then we had gone through and worked in the book. I thought that was a really awesome book. And actually, my teacher that I work with, she had gotten that, and she never had done anything with it before. And I was like, that is an amazing book. You should definitely work with that.
Everyone should take it to figure out exactly where your strengths are. And then I love when you could read about what, it says about your strengths.
Yeah.
And then just really work in that area. Work in that area all day long. All day long. So what did you find out was yours? Do you remember from 10 years back? It's probably different now, Tessie. 10 years later.
I was just going to say that, because it was so long ago, when I saw the teacher have it, I was just thinking, I wonder if there's a way that you could retake, because I know that you have to pay for like a certain amount of it for the test part of it. But yeah, definitely as time goes by, especially being 10 years, that those things have changed. But I want to say at the time it was like empowerment was one of them. And there was something else too. I don't know if it was a team thing, but yeah, I just remember that empowerment was one of the biggest ones. That because there's so many different things going on in my life. I just moved to a new place, new job, and so I didn't really think that I felt very empowered, but that was something that I read about.
Maybe it means you empower others.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Your gift is you find ways to bring out strengths, and I totally can see that with you. I can totally see that with you. Even when you share vendor shows, people will say, I really like to let me know. Like I'll say, how was your show? I was with Tessie today, and she just really made me feel, made me feel like, I did a good job, and she really shared the things I was doing well. So you do have a way of empowering people. So I think that's what it is. Like you're looking for ways to make people feel better about themselves, to feel empowered, to be encouraged. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and I've seen that a lot in the different things, because I have always grown up like looking for the best in people. I mean, sometimes that's also been a flaw of mine too, of like forgiving too much and seeing the strengths that way. But I didn't know that, and sometimes you have to be told what you're good at before you actually realize it. Mm-hmm. Because when I was a kid, everybody always said I was shy, and the reason wasn't necessarily that I was shy. I just didn't like talking to strangers because I didn't know them. But when you're labeled as a young child, you learn that, and then you grow and believe in that too. So when I had just, we had moved in about August or September. And so I started this new job maybe in about the fall, late fall sometime. And so probably about October of that, couple months later, we're taking this test, and I'm like, empowerment? I don't think, because this is all new. Like, how are you good at something that when you're brand new starting it? So that was kind of an eye-opening for me. But I always enjoy doing that. And like you said, when you are working in your strengths, it doesn't feel like work. Right. And so that's definitely something that I don't think that it's work, or I don't think that it's hard to compliment other people and to tell them what they're good at, because it brings them joy. So yeah.
And you will
probably have changed.
Well, and I'm sure it has. And I haven't done it for a while either, and I'm sure it's changed for me too. And I totally need to take it again too. I mean, it's just amazing. Yeah, because I mean, sometimes it's good to ask other people, your closest friends around you, like, what do you see in me? What gifts do you see in me? Not people who are going to be negative, though. Be careful who you ask. You might want to be like, I've always been wanting to tell her what I think because I'm so jealous of her.
Oh, yeah.
Bigger and tell her whatever. You know what I mean? So ask those people that are, encouraging. For me, like I would be choosing people who are, Christian followers, friends. Just say, what do you see in me? What do you see some of my strengths are? Because people like your like Tim would know, too. What do you see in me that I do well? What are some things that I really do great? You don't want to hear the negative stuff, because we all have issues there. But I love that. Great conversation. Oh my goodness.
And then focus 25% on new things. We're always told that we have to continue to grow. And I just underlined, if you dedicate time to new things related to areas of strength, then you'll grow as a leader. So in leadership, if you're through growing, you're through. But sometimes we always think, okay, well, if you read the first part, when it says growth equals change, if you want to get better, you have to keep right areas of improving and actually focusing on your areas of strength, then you're probably not going to grow. You're just going to confuse yourself with the constant changing and learning of new things. So I liked the ending of that paragraph where it specifically talks about new things related to your areas of strength. So
sure. Well, like, yeah, exactly. Like if, like for me, for leadership, I want to just continue to go to any convention or any leadership book that talks about leadership, because that's what I do. And that's what a lot of what I do. And so I want to get better in that, if you want to call it, exercise that muscle. So yeah, when he says 25% new on new things, yeah, I think it is, just constantly, it is only 25%. It's not 50, it's only 25%. So, I do find though, you have to, and I think in this part is also when it says new, that's also stretching yourself too, because a lot of times the things that you really want are on that other side of the comfort zone. So, like I think people say, well, I don't really want to do that. And I'm like, well, that might be the reason why you aren't where you want to be because you are so hesitant and you just want to stay kind of in this bubble and what you want is out here. So you're going to have to stretch yourself and do those things. And I did read once and it did say, I think it was like 2% or 3% every single day you should be out of your comfort zone. About 2%, 3% each day, something like that. So every day you should do something that's like, oh, I wouldn't want to normally do that. Feels a little uncomfortable, but do it. So that's always a good reminder to me, just feel the fear and do it anyways. So good stuff. Focus 5% on areas of weakness. So here it does say 5%. Nobody can entirely avoid working in areas of weakness. The key is to minimize it as much as possible and delegate. I delegate detailed work to others. A team of people at the Enjoy group handles all the logistics of my conferences. That way when I'm there, I'm stick to the things I do best, such as the actual speaking. And that is true. That is so true. Delegate, delegate, delegate things that you don't have to do, that just, the other people, that's their wheelhouse. Why shouldn't you give it to them to do if that's their wheelhouse? You know what I mean? Okay, reflecting on it. I have a couple things highlighted. How would you rate yourself in the area of focus? Have you been majoring in minor things? That's an aha. Have you spent so much time shoring up your weaknesses that you failed to build up your strengths? I think a lot of people do that. Do the people with the least potential monopolize your time? Ooh. If so, you've probably lost your focus. To get back on track with your focus, do these things. Work on yourself. You are your greatest asset or detriment. So like what we're doing right now, I commend you because this is working on yourself. This is personal development is working on yourself. You are your most important asset. You can't control anybody else that comes into your business or whatever, but you can control you and you can work on you and you can grow you. So that's good. Work at your priorities. You will have to fight for them. So that is a daily fight. What I'm doing right now, is that towards the goal that I'm supposed to be at or is it not? I have to completely ask myself every day, does this make sense to where I want to go, what I'm doing right now? Or could this be on the back burner? You know what I mean? Work in your strengths, page 56, top. You can reach your potential and work with your contemporaries. You can't be effective alone. So basically find a grouping of people, leaders that are like-minded and work together on that. Bringing it home. Did you have anything that you want to say about that on page 56 or 57?
The part where it kind of, on 56 where it talks the first two of them, shift to strengths. You actually make a list of the things that you do well in your job, and then just that way you can specifically know what you're doing well at. It kind of makes you think about it a little bit more and then figure out how that you can work more on those. And then also with the weaknesses, identify 3 or 4 activities that you don't do well, those off to other people. So I just really like those two parts more than the rest of it, just because, you got to know what you're good at, what you're not, and then just where it says develop a plan, make that plan of action. I like that part a lot.
Yes. Create an edge. I have. What would it take for you to go to the next level in your main area of strength? What new tools do you need? Rethink how you do things and be willing to make sacrifices. Time and money spent to take you to the next level are the best investment you can make. I often say that I could use a coach. I could use a life coach. Like, I could really use a professional life coach to say, you know what, I think we could do better in this area. You know what I mean? To kind of fine tune. Kind of like when you go to the gym and you ask for a personal trainer because you want to go to the next level. You're kind of like just stuck where you are. You just need that next level. So sometimes I say and think, I could really use a life coach to help me kind of just sort through that kind of stuff and say, all right, what's best to do? What are my priorities really, and what aren't, and really what is necessary, what really isn't, and is this the best use of my time? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then daily takeaway. Experienced animal trainers like a stool with them when they step into a cage with a lion. I love this. Why a stool? It tames a lion better than anything, except maybe a tranquilizer gun. When the trainer holds the stool with the legs extended toward the lion's face, the animal tries to focus on all 4 legs at once, and that paralyzes him. Divided focus always works against you. Oh, was that an aha? So, when you're trying to juggle and keep all these balls up in the air, like trying to get this happening and this happening and this happening, like the lion, it says it paralyzes him. Can you agree that it makes you just sit back and go, I'm just not going to do any of it. It's just too much.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's where I say, all right, what are the most important things every single day that I got to do? And just one step in front. And I start with one thing. Because I can easily get overwhelmed. And I think most people do.
Right.
Okay, so let's go on to 9. We're already 8:21. Man, we're having so much fun. It's only the 2 of us. Look at that. We're crazy awesome. Okay, chapter 9, generosity. I love this. Your candle loses nothing when it lights another. No person was ever honored for what he received. Honor has been the reward for what he gave.
Yeah.
Giving is the highest level of living. And giving doesn't necessarily mean monetarily. Mm-hmm. Giving can be just sitting down with somebody and talking through and sharing some information that you've learned. That could be a post you saw on Facebook where you're like, oh my goodness, my friend just told me she was struggling with that. I'm going to tag her underneath this or share this blog I read or came upon to her to help her in her life. Or, like we have some neighbors that we've met, and her husband just had colon cancer and he just had surgery. So, I'm going to be making up a meal for them today and just bringing it over. It is the joy is in the giving. Wherever you can find little ways to help other people, there is so much joy in giving than receiving. Would you agree? Oh, I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Awesome. That's good. I couldn't hear you for a minute there. There's a little bit of a lag sometimes, so that I can catch up. Okay. That's awesome. So when you think of generous people, who comes to mind? Do you picture millionaire philanthropists from the turn of the century, such as Andrew Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, Andrew Mellon? Do you think of contemporary givers such as Joan Kroc, I think, or Bill Gates? Those people have given away millions of dollars. But I want to acquaint you with another giver. She is awesome. You've probably never heard of her, yet she typifies the deepest kind of giving, the kind that can come only from the heart. Her name is Elizabeth Elliot. In the 1950s, so it talks about Ecuador. Basically, a bunch of people came in and killed her husband and her people, and she still took care of those people who did all the massacring to her family. Something was setting up a camp and just making sure that they were all taken care of.
Yeah, in order to.
Yeah. So it says, was it to seek revenge? No, it was to work with people there and serve them. Elliot lived and worked with the Akan people for 2 years, and many of them gladly accepted the message of God's love she carried, including 2 of the 7 men who had killed her husband. So that's pretty amazing. That's an act of total grace, forgiveness, and not returning evil, but rather returning love. And that's amazing. And then talks about generosity, fleshing it out. Nothing speaks more loudly or serves people better than generosity from a leader. It isn't an occasional event. It comes from the heart and permeates every aspect of a leader's life, touching his time, money, talents, possessions. They don't gather things for themselves. They do it in order to give to others. Cultivate the quality of generosity in your life. Here's how. Be grateful for whatever you have.
Mm-hmm.
Generosity rises out of contentment and doesn't come with acquiring more. I love that because people will say money will make evil people worse or people who already have good hearts better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's true. Money just magnifies what's going on inside your heart, right?
Yeah.
So that's really, really a huge thing that you can give when you have little and you'll give a lot when you have more. So that's what's really cool. If you're not generous with little, you won't suddenly change if you become wealthy. Number 2, these kind of people put people first. The measure of a leader is not the number of people who serve him, but the number of people he serves. Generosity requires putting others first. If you can do that, giving becomes much easier. Don't allow the desire for possessions to control you. According to Earl, people can be divided into 3 groups: haves, have-nots, and have not paid for what they have. More and more people are becoming enslaved to a desire to acquire. Owning things is an obsession in our culture. If we own it, we feel we can control it. And if we can control it, we feel it will give us more pleasure. The idea is an illusion. If you want to be in charge of your heart, don't allow possessions to take charge of you. Love that. I love the regarding money as a resource. Just stop me, Tessie, if you have things to say.
Okay.
So it says, if you're focusing on making it, you're materialistic. If you try to, but don't make it, you're a loser. If you make a lot of it, so these are basically all the bad hues that people say when you make money. If you make a lot and keep it, you're a miser. If you make it and spend it, you're a spendthrift. If you don't care about making money, you're unambitious. If you make a lot and still have it when you die, you're a fool for trying to take it with you. The only way to really win with money is to hold it loosely and be generous with it to accomplish things of value. As E. Stanley Jones said, money is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. If it gets on top and you get under it, you will become its slave. And we know in the Bible, God says, it's not money itself that's evil, it's the love of money is the root of all evil. So if all you want every day is to make money, why? What is your purpose behind that? For yourself? Or do you want to make the money so that you can help many other people? And what is your heart saying? Where are you coming from when you're wanting to do what you want to do? Why you want to go to the next level? What is it? That's why we put our boards together and say, well, this is what I want to do with it. This is how I want to impact the world. This is how I want to get things started, because we know that the earning of money isn't where you're fulfilled. It's adding value and changing the world, and knowing that you are making a difference is where you really feel fulfilled. Otherwise, it's just empty. You know what I mean? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, just like the Scrooge, the Christmas story. That's a pretty easy example of how to explain that.
Yes.
You have a lot, but have a lot of friends or have a lot of things that you feel important about or passionate about. What are you going to do with that money? It's just going to go to the grave with you. It's not going to do anything.
Right.
But I really like the part that kind of just goes into the number 5, develop the habit of giving, where it says in 1889, millionaire industrialist Andrew Carnegie wrote an essay called Gospel of Wealth. In it, he said that the life of a wealthy person of acquiring wealth and one of redistributing it. So I've always told that if you earn a lot now, you can give a lot more. So I really like that part. And just the only way to maintain an attitude of generosity is to make it your habit to give. And like you said, another part, it doesn't matter if you have a lot or a little, just giving of something will help you to develop that habit. And then if you have more later, then you can give more also.
And again, when we said we pray for discernment, You know how we say pray for discernment, for wisdom? Same thing. Like here, just pray for, God put things on my heart, lay things on my heart for ways that I could give, or an organization that maybe is waiting for me to start. You know what I mean? Like something that is near and dear and on my heart that I have a passion for. Whether it's a kid ministry thing that you want to start, or whether it's something that you've struggled with in your life that you want to be able to empower others. Empower, there's that word. Others, to start some kind of organization that that you're working towards, so you can put the money together for that to make that happen. Like Cammie, she's big into these Swaziland care centers for kids over in Africa. That's a passion on her heart that she wants to, go to the next levels, because she knows they need more care centers. They need more money. They need more mentorship for those kids, safe places for those kids to be at. So, if you can ask the Lord, and you can really, really start thinking about, where is it that I could start an organization, I could start a foundation, I guarantee you'll get a lot more focused in your business when you know what you're going after. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're going after helping this over here. So when, John Maxwell, the man who's reading, says, if you help enough people get where they want, you'll get where you want to go. So isn't that interesting, when you take your money off of the pin level or the income you want, but rather put it on, I want to start this organization. I want to help these kinds of people. Then everything changes.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
For focus that way.
Yeah. Reflecting on it. Are you a generous leader? Do you continue to look for ways to add value to others? Are you giving money to something greater than yourself? And to whom are you giving your time? Are you pouring your life into others? Are you helping those who cannot help you or give anything in return? Writer John Bunyan affirmed, you have not lived today. I love this. You have not lived today until you have done something for someone who can never repay you. Mm-hmm. Have you thought about that? Have you prayed about that? What could I, again, that focus on why you're doing what you're doing in your business. You're doing it obviously for health and helping people that way, but you're doing it for far greater purposes beyond even just that, And so when you think, who is that one person that I want to do this something for, that I know that would never be able to repay me? Wow. And you don't want them to repay you, because the art is in being fulfilled by adding value and giving to people immeasurably more than all you can ask or imagine, Okay, let's bring it home. Let's get this puppy wrapped up. I couldn't even brew my coffee. John's like, don't put the coffee maker on. You did it last week and it woke me up. The smell just went upstairs, and he was just like, he was already, 7:30 is pretty early for a Saturday for those who like to sleep in, but just kind of funny. Right. So I want to get some coffee on. So to improve your generosity, do the following. These are so good. Give something away. Find out what kind of hold your possessions have on you. So what are you so attached to in this world, like physically, like materially? What are you so stuck with? Take something you truly value. Think of someone you care about who could benefit from it, and give it to him. If you can do it anonymously, so without letting anybody know who did it, that's even better. Put your money to work. If you know someone with the vision to do something really great, something that will positively impact the lives of others, provide resources for him to accomplish it. Put your money to work for something that will outlive you. Outlive you. I believe that's why we're here, to do things that will outlive us, that will be legacy changing for our family and futures to come. When Tessie decided to do It Works Global, remember? That was our great-grandma, our great-great-great-grandma. She decided to do things differently than everybody else did. She said, I was going to do this crazy business called It Works Global. And she achieved and had dreams that were way above and beyond anybody else in our family. And she completely rewrote and started this organization that impacts people and for future years and, generations to come, because of her focus and her discernment and her, keeping priorities straight to want to make an impact. So I just love that.
I'm going to have to record that part of you saying that, because it just gave me chills, and I'm just going to listen to it every day.
There you go. Well, just type it out for yourself, like a conversation of what generations would be saying about what you did because we have the power to do that. This network marketing company has the power to completely change everything. It's just the will inside of us. It's the focus that we need, because oftentimes we're focused in too many areas. We need to narrow it down to what do we really want to accomplish in the short time that we're here. Because life is short, but God is big, right? Life is short, but God is big. And He can use us if we continually say, use us, use us, use us. Help me, give me discernment, find places where I can make impact for future generations to come. And so it is exciting. It is really exciting. And I love the last one. Find someone to mentor. Once you reach a certain level in your leadership, the most valuable thing you have to give is yourself. So after a while, when you've really gotten to be really successful and you've really started your organizations and they're flowing, find someone to turn around and pay that forward to. Give them the same leadership and things that you've learned along the way to help them grow into empower, as you said, empower them into being a world changer as well. Give them the time and the resources to become a better leader. Okay, so then the daily takeaway. Okay, so this guy, I'm just trying to think. Purchased with a book in advance. While I was there, he got his book, City of Joy. He received something else, a passion to help the poor and miserable people he discovered there. So here you go. So again, asking the Lord, put things on my heart. Let me see things, because He will show you. This area needs help. This area needs this. That's exactly what happened to him. He went in style. He went in Rolls Royce. And while he was there, he received the right there, the passion to help the poor and miserable people he discovered there. That discovery has changed his life forever. Now he divides his time between writing, fundraising, and donating time and money to help the people. His attitude can be summed up by 2 words of Indian poet, which are printed on the back of Lapierre's business card. All that is not given is lost. What are you currently losing by holding on to it?
I like that last sentence too. What are you currently losing by holding on to it? Yeah. Like thinking about your using them, you're going to lose them if you don't use them like that. Or, if you're trying to help somebody, but you're not, seeking, that you can help them, but you're not acting on that, you're going to lose that time or that chance that you had to help them. And then just, if you think about it in simple ways, like with our business, if you've got the Blitz card, you're not going to gain anything onto them. I laugh when people say, "Oh, you don't have to keep or let me have this catalog." Like if I say, "Well, here you go, you can have this," and they're like, "Okay, well, I'll just kind of look at it, but then I'll let you keep it." I'm like, "Why? I don't need it. I have a whole bunch of them. I buy them so I can give them to you." Like, it does me no good. I know what the products are. I can have one, but if I have more than one, it's yours. I bought it to give to you. Like, I just think it's so funny.
You're right. So you're not only talking about material things, but you're also talking about things as simple as, well, it's material too. But just if you've got Blitz cards and you've got all sorts of things sitting on your shelf for your business and it's not in the hands of people, it's not helping you at all. Right? I love that. The other thing I think about is, what are you currently holding on to, even with all the stuff that you're doing? What are you currently holding on to? What are you losing by holding on to it? Like all the different things that you do in your life, all the different groups that you're a part of, all the different whatever it might be in your life. What is it that maybe you're holding on to and you're losing because you're losing out? And that goes to the focus thing. Totally. Yeah. Totally. So, this is good stuff for me. Like, I'm taking this all in, absorbing it, going, all right, Laura, you're speaking to me. All right, I hear it.
Yeah, I like the first part of the book, but I think that these 3 chapters were the ones that hit home the most. And I almost was kind of, when I was reading chapter 8 on the focus, I'm like, this should almost be chapter 1 for me, because he says, like, take one thing and work on that until you're good at it. Like, if I don't have good focus, I'm not good at any of these things. So, maybe that's why I liked it too. But I understand for a reason, but I just kind of was like, oh, yeah, I should really pay attention to these things and work on them. So I really like these a lot.
Well, and I always say, I've heard this too, I have millions of dollars worth of, probably income that could have been made by all the books that are sitting on my shelf that I've read and then I didn't put into practice. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So you think about that, you go, wow, I've read so many things, I've gotten so many great ideas, I just never acted on them. So I wonder how much income that I missed out on because I didn't put into practice what I learned. So you do think about that as well. You know what I mean? Probably billions worth of dollars that are sitting on the shelf of all the books that I've read. And you go, oh, that's such a great idea. Aha moments all over the place. And then I just go back to whatever. And then you're like, okay, that didn't make any sense. So I'm encouraging myself to say, all right, what did I learn today? Reprioritizing is probably the biggest thing for me. Prioritizing. What makes sense towards the goal that I'm trying to go for? And asking myself every time when I'm doing something, is this what I want? Is this going towards what I said I wanted to go towards? And then if it's not, then you have to kind of ask yourself, maybe I really don't want what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah.
Because if I'm really not going for it, what's my deal?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's maybe really truly what I don't want. So I don't know. Something to pray about, you know what I mean, too, as well.
There was something in there that talked about, if you're not gaining in this, maybe you should ask yourself about your career choices. I remember reading about that, like think a little bit more about what you should be doing, type thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But that's funny because, it's just all those things because no matter where you're at in life, I can remember being, whatever, maybe it's weight loss. And you're like, well, I really want to lose 20 pounds. So why am I eating a burger today? I think it's sometimes the lazy factor. You know what I mean? That's why. Because it's easier not to. It's always easier not to. It's always easier not to think. It's always easier not to take action. You know what I mean? So there's that factor too.
Right.
Awesome. This was way awesome, Tessie.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So anything, I'll stop the recording for all those that are going to watch and then we'll just chat for a second. Thank you guys. Enjoy and let us know your aha moments.